The story opens up in Huade, one of the most prestigious schools in Shenzhen City. In an office, the head of academic affairs, Director Wu, a man whose patience is as thin as his hairline, asks the protagonist, Liang, to sign his withdrawal from the school. He slams the application on the table with force, visibly angering the class 12 student. Liang, whose former glory has faded faster than a cheap phone battery, accuses Director Wu of hypocrisy. He recalls how the latter once begged him to join the college, but now acts differently. Upon hearing this, the director slams the table with his chubby little hands and reminds Liang of the reality. Apparently, Liang ranked third in the whole city 3 years ago, which earned him admission at Huade. But now he is placed absolutely last for the past 3 months. Director Wu highlights how Liang's illness caused him to drop from the top position to the bottom for months, calling him a good-for-nothing failure. Although harsh, Director Wu's words aren't entirely untrue, as Liang did suddenly collapse one day without warning. Since that incident, Liang has been in a foggy state, frequently falling asleep and losing his reputation as a top student. Director Wu then throws Liang out of his office and declares that expulsion is inevitable. Clenching his fists in frustration, Liang trembles as Meng, a beautiful, concerned classmate, approaches and asks if he is okay. He reassures her that he's fine and asks why she came to find him. Meng offers him a large notebook, explaining that it's her personal study guide, and expresses her willingness to help him with his studies. Liang, surprised by her gesture, sarcastically asks if she thinks he has fallen so low that he now needs free tutoring. Meng tries to defend her intentions, but Liang shows stereotypical misplaced anger of a teenager, saying he doesn't need anyone's pity or charity. Unbeknownst to him, as his emotions intensify, the system within him is activating, like a software update at the worst possible time, reaching an impressive 85% synchronization. Still fuming, Liang walks to his classroom, sits down at his desk, and struggles to calm his emotions. In the classroom, Lin, a classmate whose ego is larger than the school's budget, approaches him with a sneer, mockingly asking if the once top student is about to drop out. Lin's ridicule continues as he openly taunts Liang, drawing attention to his tanking reputation. Liang ignores the taunting and lowers his head onto his desk, choosing not to respond. However, the other students join in, laughing and labeling him as pathetic and miserable. Hearing their laughter, Liang questions himself, wondering if this will be his life from now on. Unbeknownst to Liang, the rising tide of emotions accelerates the system's connection with his brain. It jumps from 87% to 96% and finally hits 100%, initiating the all-knowing study God program. Suddenly, advanced formulas and complex equations fill his head. His head feels lighter despite the immense influx of knowledge, as though his brain is expanding. The sensation is surreal. It's like Newton handing him the apple that fell on his head. Overcome with joy, Liang stands abruptly, cheering that he is fully recovered. Other students in the class take the statement with the same level of belief as a politician's promise during an election year. Lin loudly mocks Liang, claiming he must have been dreaming about returning to the top. Just then, Zhao, the homeroom teacher, whose patience is as thin as a single ply of toilet paper, slams her file on the desk to silence the chaos. She then commands Lin to distribute the test papers. Suddenly, Liang raises his hand and boldly asks Miss Zhao if he can challenge Lin based on their upcoming test results. Lin laughs, mocking his opponent of daydreaming, but Liang dares him to accept the challenge if he's confident. Smirking confidently, Lin agrees and declares that the loser must become the winner's servant. Miss Zhao, who is clearly annoyed, tells them to focus on their test rather than engaging in petty arguments. Liang, however, insists that this is simply a friendly competition fueled by their shared enthusiasm for learning. After a moment's thought, Miss Zhao permits the challenge, adding that she will grade their tests immediately afterward. Both Liang and Lin prepare themselves to prove that they are the best students in the class. Lin, brimming with confidence as the biology class representative, believes he will easily defeat Liang. He glances over and notices Liang sitting with his eyes closed and assumes he's already given up. Little did he know, Liang is processing information faster than a caffeinated squirrel. As the clock ticks down to the final 3 minutes, Lin feels assured of his victory. Suddenly, Liang picks up his pen and begins writing furiously, like a student doing their homework 15 minutes before the class starts. Lin, startled by this unexpected turn, wonders what Liang could possibly accomplish so late into the test. For the remaining 3 minutes, Liang writes like the paper owes him money. As Miss Zhao begins her countdown from 5, and just before she reaches one, Liang triumphantly raises his paper and declares that he's finished. Lin, not wanting to be a dumb loser, quickly follows suit, claiming to have completed his test as well. Shortly afterwards, Miss Zhao collects both tests and begins grading them while the class waits in suspense. Lin is certain that his score will secure his victory. After a few moments, Miss Zhao announces that Lin scored 93, with only minor errors in the essay section. Cheering wildly, he basks in the praise of his classmates, confident that he has won. He then turns to Liang and smugly orders him to address him as Master from now on. However, Miss Zhao reads Liang's score aloud, 99 points and undeniable victory. The class falls into stunned silence as they have just witnessed the most dumb student kick the first boy's backside. Lin, unable to process his defeat, shouts that it's impossible for Liang to outperform him. Not willing to accept his defeat, Lin angrily points a finger at Liang and throws a tantrum, accusing him of cheating. He then clenches his fist and, in a move as predictable as a sitcom's laugh track, gets ready to throw a punch. However, Miss Zhao warns Lin not to start a fight. She reminds everyone that the entire class was watching Liang, making it impossible for him to have cheated. At that moment, the school bell rings, signaling the end of lessons. Liang casually walks out of the classroom and heads toward the bathroom. Before leaving, he turns his head and smugly reminds Lin to address him as Master, as promised. Feeling utterly humiliated, Lin scratches his lice-ridden head awkwardly, kneeling on the ground in embarrassment. The other students laugh and urge Lin to honor his word and call Liang Master, which only makes him more flustered. Meanwhile, outside the classroom, Liang gladly enjoys his classmate getting humiliated, finally feeling satisfied as he gets his revenge. Suddenly, the system appears before him and informs him that his current talent is just the beginning of what he can achieve, which is undoubtedly one of the most overused motivational sentences. The system further explains that Liang must complete assigned tasks to earn study coins, level up, and become the #1 academic god in the world. An unimpressed Liang mocks it and questions the measly reward of 10 study coins. Annoyed by Liang's attitude, the system warns him that success requires his own effort, or he will be kicked back into his previous state as a failure. This is enough to jolt Liang to reality, and he vows to do everything it takes to become the true academic god. Determined, he starts running toward the biology teacher, Mr. Zhang's office, planning to request the reinstatement of his eligibility for the Grand Plan. It is a prestigious scholarship program at the school, offering 100,000 yuan and guaranteed admission to Suzhou University for the top 3 students. In the meantime, the system praises Liang's initiative and assigns him a challenge: to convince Teacher Zhang to let him compete for the Grand Plan or lose his system connection forever. A short while later, Liang arrives outside a classroom and places his hand on the lock, pushing the door open like a low-budget superhero crashing through a window. Inside the biology lab, Meng notices Liang and questions why he has come to this place. With confidence, he declares that he is here to register for the competition for the 3 coveted spots in the Grand Plan. One of the students, the top biology nerd, Zhu, mocks Liang, suggesting he apply for the lab cleaner job instead. Teacher Zhang also admits that while Liang's return is unexpected, the competition is filled with students far superior to him. Meanwhile, Liang points at the blackboard with a difficult math equation and questions why students who can't solve it are considered worthy of the Grand Plan. A bald student, with the crossed arms of a disgruntled bouncer, challenges Liang to solve the equation within an hour or else leave the lab. Zhu chimes in mockingly, suggesting Liang solve basic addition and subtraction instead. Unbothered by the insults, Liang confidently states that the solution to the problem is 1426. Both the bald student and Zhu are stunned, knowing full well that his answer is correct. Liang smiles slightly and gives the most unbelievable excuse for his sudden intelligence. He claims that he solved the equation using mental math, further astonishing the crowd. Teacher Zhang, visibly impressed by the pathetic excuse, asks if Liang has fully recovered, and he confirms that he has. With renewed excitement, Teacher Zhang rummages through some papers and hands Liang a test packet, asking him to solve it. Meanwhile, Zhu's expression darkens as he curses silently, resembling a villain plotting world domination. Moments later, Liang dives into the test, solving it right in front of the bewildered onlookers. To everyone's amazement, he finishes the entire test like you finish with your girlfriend, way ahead of time. Teacher Zhang reviews the papers and is astounded, not only by Liang's speed but also his accuracy. Liang points out that question 19 lacks a correct answer, stating that the actual solution should be 3D678. Zhu disputes his claim with the passion of a lawyer defending a guilty client, insisting that the correct answer is option D. Undeterred, Liang challenges Zhu to calculate the answer himself if he is so sure of being right. Zhu, instead of proving himself right, does what all losers do. He hands Liang a piece of chalk and dares him to prove his answer on the blackboard. The Baldy joins in, pressing Liang to solve the question or leave the lab immediately. Even teacher Zhang expresses curiosity, urging Liang to demonstrate his solution for everyone to see. Meng, who is beginning to have a weird sensation, watches from the side, wondering if Liang has truly regained his former brilliance. With determination, Liang steps up to the blackboard and begins solving the problem. Teacher Zhang watches in awe, marveling at how effortlessly Liang works, as though he has multiple hands. Zhu and Meng are equally shocked, while Meng feels emotional seeing Liang regain his confidence. The other students watch in silence, impressed by Liang's unmatched skill, comparing him to a divine being, a compliment as extravagant as a gold-plated toilet. Finally, Liang completes the solution, his forehead slightly sweaty from the intense focus and rapid movements. Teacher Zhang, thoroughly impressed, declares that Liang's solution is flawless and completely correct. With the confidence of a used car salesman, Teacher Zhang assures Liang that his talent guarantees him one of the 3 spots in the grand plan. Meanwhile, Zhu's face twists with jealousy, and he silently wishes for Liang's downfall. Teacher Zhang emphasizes that only 3 weeks remain for the grand plan and suggests Liang put in extra effort to prepare. He also offers him one-on-one tutoring, a gesture as generous as offering a life raft to someone standing on dry land, since Liang hasn't officially registered for the training sessions. Meanwhile, Zhu remains furious about being surpassed by Liang. In frustration, he texts someone and vows to expose Liang and bring him down. Meng notices Zhu on his phone and curiously asks what he's doing, causing him to panic and turn off his device like a squirrel hiding a nut. Meanwhile, Teacher Zhang starts searching through the bookshelf to find study materials for Liang to prepare for the upcoming biology competition. Suddenly, Director Wu does the dramatic reality TV show entrance by storming into the room with 2 guards, ordering them to drag Liang out immediately. The guards approach Liang, following the director's orders to remove him from the school premises. Maintaining the calm of a Zen master during a tornado, Liang points out that he hasn't signed any withdrawal letter, so he has every right to stay and participate in the grand plan. Watching this unfold, Zhu, smirking like a villain in a silent film, points an accusing finger. Director Wu declares that Liang is a cheater who has deceived teachers and classmates, warranting his expulsion. But Teacher Zhang steps forward to defend Liang, stating that the accusations are baseless. Director Wu turns to Teacher Zhang and warns him not to protect a so-called cheater. Enraged, Teacher Zhang over-dramatically throws test papers to the ground, shouting that he is not defending Liang. Director Wu dismisses Teacher Zhang's words, claiming to have concrete evidence, and orders the guards to remove Liang. As the guards forcefully take him away, Liang shouts that he is innocent, begs the system for help, and claims he is being framed, a scene straight out of a melodramatic soap opera. The system coldly replies that it cannot interfere, but reminds Liang to claim his earlier task reward. Liang quickly accepts the reward, receiving a skill called an actor's self-cultivation, which he initially finds as useful as a chocolate teapot. As the guards drag him closer to the door, Liang decides to use his new skill without hesitation like a magician revealing his final trick. Freeing himself from the guard's grasp, he drops to his knees and looks to the ceiling, calling out to his parents in despair. In an overly theatrical, heart-wrenching performance, he laments that his parents sacrificed everything, even basic necessities, to pay for his education. Trying to forcibly channel his inner raw emotion, Liang compares his parents' hard work under the scorching sun to endless suffering that he cannot repay. His tearful cries keep getting more and more dramatic, filling the room with an air of tragedy as he apologizes to his ancestors for letting them down. Tears stream down his face, adding an authentic layer to his act, which leaves everyone in the room stunned. Visibly moved, Meng, as smart as a second-grade toddler, places a comforting hand on Liang's shoulder and urges him to stop crying. She appeals to the others, and soon Teacher Zhang and the rest of the class, all in tears, declare that they trust Liang. Even Zhu, who despised Liang, breaks down, shedding bitter tears against his will. Director Wu, struggling to hold back his emotions, begins sniffling, his face red with sentiment. Though Liang appears heartbroken, he secretly celebrates his skill's success with a slight smirk. Seizing the momentum, Liang declares that his only wish is to see his parents smile, not caring about himself. This declaration moves the crowd further, and their cries grow louder and echo through the classroom. Even Director Wu, despite his resistance, finds himself unable to stop tears from trickling down his face. Ending his performance, Liang boldly suggests bringing the accuser forward and settling the matter in the principal's office. He challenges Director Wu to perform the Swan Maiden Ballet if Liang proves he didn't cheat. Teacher Zhang singles out Zhu as the informant and insists he accompany them to the principal's office. Looking visibly guilty, Zhu hesitates and tries to avoid the situation, but Teacher Zhang and Meng confront him, accusing him of lying about Liang cheating with his phone. Liang, maintaining his composure, dares Zhu to go to the principal's office if he is confident in his accusations. The coward Zhu angrily agrees, shouting that he'll face the principal himself. Shortly after, in the principal's office, Liang sits at a desk, prepared to solve a problem under the principal's watchful eye. He picks up a pen and confidently claims he only needs 3 minutes to solve it. That's 2 minutes and 30 seconds more than you last. Director Wu interrupts, arguing that allowing Liang to retake the test is unfair, as he's already been labeled a cheater. But the principal questions his insistence, implying that he might fear Liang solving the problem again. This enrages the director, and he decides to remain silent for the time being. After 2 minutes, Liang triumphantly announces he has completed the problem. As the principal and other staff review the solution, Zhu sneers, claiming Liang must have guessed his way through. Moments later, the principal declares Liang's answer to be entirely correct. Zhu and Director Wu stare in disbelief, and the latter hastily accuses Liang of foul play. He declares that he has uncovered proof of Liang's supposed cheating. The principal demands evidence, and Director Wu, puffed up like a wannabe gangster, swaggers forward with the confidence of a man who clearly spends too much time rehearsing his villain speech in the mirror. He insists Liang pulled some online trick to cheat like the internet, just handing out how to ace exams while napping tutorials. Liang, witty but also twice as annoying, fires back, wondering what magical cheat codes he could have Googled during the exam. Then, like an over-the-top drama queen, he flips the script and asks if Director Wu is suggesting the principal leaked his own questions. Meanwhile, Director Wu, caught off guard and struggling like a fish in a blender, mutters out some half-baked excuse before pivoting to blame some random teacher for maybe, possibly, helping Liang. The principal, visibly fed up with Wu's conspiracy theories, snaps at him to quit yapping unless he has receipts. Desperate and sweating through his cheap suit, Wu turns to Zhu, practically begging for backup. Zhu, as the loyal lapdog, shrugs and says he only hears the juicy gossip from Lin because nothing screams credibility like a rumor from the school's resident chatterbox. Suddenly, Liang pounces like a cat, grilling Zhu on whether he has actual suspicions or if he just swallows Lin's nonsense whole. Zhu, nervous like a teenager with a bad haircut, shoots back that Liang's 3-month snooze fest followed by sudden genius vibes is suspicious. But this only widens Liang's smirk. He reveals that he was baiting Zhu into that exact trap, and the idiot walked right into it. Zhu accuses Liang of twitching nervously and hiding some sneaky cheat method. Then, in a twist straight out of a soap opera, Liang's eyes tear up as he flips on his Actor King's performance mode because nothing says innocent like a melodramatic sob story about disappointing everyone for 3 months. Soon afterwards, Teacher Zhang, who is predictably teary-eyed, tells Liang to let go of the past. But the latter trembles like he has just seen a ghost or a bad grade, and insists on explaining how he cracked every exam question. The principal, hooked like a fish on a line, urges him to spill the secret. Director Wu, who is still skeptical and petty spiteful, scoffs that a 3-month coma kid cannot possibly explain anything, probably because Wu's own brain has been on vacation longer than that. Liang, unfazed and full of swagger, declares he has 5 methods to solve the problem, leaving the room stunned like they have just witnessed a magic trick. With flair that would make a rock star jealous, Liang yanks off his jacket and swings it around, scattering papers like confetti at a parade for nerds. He launches into his first method, yapping about evolutionary trees and species progression, then slides into the second homoplacy. The third method rolls out with unnecessarily complex scientific buzzwords and more tree talk, while the fourth and fifth are vague enough to sound like he has improvised them over breakfast. To the principal and Zhu, it is like hearing a kid who has apparently turned his snooze button into a PhD. Director Wu, meanwhile, sulks in the corner, feeling lower than a kid who just got his chocolate stolen by his big bro. After his nonsensical yapping, Liang soaks in the glory, wiping imaginary sweat as the principal hands him a cloth and basically crowns him the school's golden boy. Director Wu, sensing defeat and probably a wedgie from his too tight ego, tries sneaking out like a discount ninja. Liang, however, catches him midway and reminds him about that ballet bet, because nothing says payback like forcing your teacher to dance in tights. Soon, the school speakers boom to life, calling everyone to watch Director Wu's grand humiliation. The playground fills with students laughing as Wu walks out in a ballet outfit, so tight it looks like a plastic cover on a ham sausage. He stumbles through 4 little swans, resembling a pig auditioning for a circus more than a dancer. The performance completes with a faceplant that will surely go viral before lunch. The crowd loses it. Everyone takes their phones out, recording Wu's disgrace as he silently plots his revenge. Just then, Lin rushes in to help, only to get slapped with a 5,000-word essay punishment. Of course, Wu's leadership style is apparently blame everyone but yourself. Upstairs, Liang summons his system, which congratulates him for nailing a hidden mission, making Wu the school's laughingstock. The reward for it is 10 study coins and a shiny new luxury lottery feature. Later, Liang strolls home but finds it to be eerily silent. Instead of parents, he finds a huge dinner laid out and muffled voices coming from his parents' bedroom. He eavesdrops like a pro and catches his parents whining about their broke life, all thanks to bankrolling his 3-month hibernation. His dad hugs his mom like they are in a rom-com climax and swears to carry the load so Liang can keep shining. Touched and maybe a little guilty, Liang vows to lift them out of their poverty, preferably with less napping next time. In his room, Liang fires up the system and demands a spin on that fancy lottery wheel. When the system shows the outrageous cost, Liang calls it a scam louder than a kid who has just lost at Monopoly. The system, sassy as ever, tells him to quit whining and enjoy his freebie. Liang grumbles about his rotten luck, ironic for a guy who has just turned his school's director into a ballet meme. Nonetheless, Liang spins the wheel and it lands on Intermediate Treasure Appraisal Skill, then throws in Supreme Treasure Appraisal Skill as a bonus. Stunned but smug, Liang figures he has just hit the jackpot again, while Wu is probably still hiding somewhere due to his hurt ego. The next day, Liang sets out for the antique street with one mission blazing in his mind: to make money, rake in cash, and pile up even more dough. He jokingly thinks that if there's another goal, it's probably still about stacking cash higher than a block tower. As he scans the shops, they all look the same, like a row of copy-paste tourist traps. So, he shrugs and picks one at random, trusting his luck to guide him ahead. Just then, he catches the school principal squabbling with a mustached shopkeeper who looks like he's spent too many nights practicing his evil laugh. The guy's demanding 250,000 yuan for some busted antique, waving it around like no one has seen anything like that before. The principal, flustered and redder than a sunburnt tomato, insists he didn't break a thing, but the shopkeeper fires back, asking who else could have smashed it. He threatens to call the cops if the principal doesn't cough up the cash. The poor principal begins sweating bullets, knowing that this incident would tank his reputation and turn the school into a punching bag. Nearby, Liang, who is watching this circus unfold, struts into the shop like he owns the place. The youngster asks the shopkeeper if framing innocent folks is his day job or just a hobby he's bad at. The principal, blinking in shock at seeing Liang in this scammy shop, asks what he's doing there. But Liang brushes it off, declaring the artifact's worth a measly 50 yuan, barely enough for a decent lunch. The shopkeeper snorts, acting like he's some expert of authenticity, and warns Liang to quit spreading lies before he slanders his way into a lawsuit. Unfazed, Liang doubles down, telling the principal with all the swagger of a veteran hustler that the thing's faker than a knockoff Gucci handbag. The youngster then drops to one knee and eyeballs the shattered bits of the artifact like a detective in a low-budget crime flick. With a serious gaze, he flips on his treasure identification mode, his brain's built-in scam detector, and grabs a shard. He lowers it toward a random bowl of water on the shop's table like he's about to baptize the truth out of it. Then, he plops it in, and within seconds, the shard's surface peels away like cheap wallpaper, revealing a black gum. The shopkeeper, caught with his pants down and his mustache drooping, stammers that he got duped too sure, buddy, and the moon's made of glitter. Meanwhile, the principal, practically weeping with relief, exclaims that Liang just saved him from flushing his life savings down a scam-shaped toilet. Bystanders start voicing their agreement, nodding like they've all been scammed by this clown before. The shopkeeper, on the other hand, panics and bolts like a rabbit with a firecracker up its tail. His grand escape plan crashes when he smacks right into two cops at the door, who look like they eat frauds for breakfast. They announce they're sniffing around for counterfeit junk after someone informed them about a scam. Liang, raising a hand like a kid with the right answer, offers to spill more tea. He boldly claims every trinket in the shop's a fake, probably including the shopkeeper's dignity, and demands a full check. The shopkeeper, seeing his shady empire crumble faster than a house of cards in a storm, flops to the floor in defeat as one cop radios for reinforcements. Minutes later, the principal, now scam-free and breathing easy, thanks Liang. The latter plays it humble, saying he just did what any decent person with a lie detector superpower would. Curious, the principal asks if Liang's just wandering the streets, but the youngster admits he's hunting jade stones to turn into cold, hard cash. The principal, eager to repay the favor, suggests he hit up the famous Efting Pavilion down the road, apparently the hot spot for treasure collectors. Following this, Liang takes the tip and walks over to the spot and finds a buzzing crowd of buyers and sellers haggling like it's the world's loudest flea market. He zeroes in on a stall boasting big discounts, figuring it's a goldmine for his next big score. With his supreme treasure identification skill, he spots a dull stone that's screaming hidden jackpot to his trained eye. He grabs it and tells the shopkeeper to slice it open, ready to make some money. The shopkeeper, squinting like Liang's lost his marbles, questions why he'd pick such a dud, but Liang stands firm in his decision. After forking over the cash, Liang watches the shopkeeper crank up his stone. The first slice reveals nothing, just boring rock guts, and Liang tells him to keep going. The shopkeeper grumbles that another cut might turn it into worthless dust, but reluctantly gives it another crack. This time, he yelps like he's just won the lottery himself, shouting that there's jade inside worth at least 500,000 yuan. The crowd buzzes like bees on a sugar rush, and a handful of eager beavers swarm forward, tossing out bids topping 600,000 yuan. Among them is Mr. Ning, a slick businessman from the Ning family, decked out in a suit so sharp they could cut glass. The old man offers a whooping 700,000 yuan like it's pocket change. As a result, Liang sees Ning's fancy vibe and figures he must be a big shot who doesn't mess around. The youngster thus decides Mr. Ning is the guy to sell to. He hands over the jade, swaps phone numbers with Ning, who floats the idea of teaming up down the line. With a huge dumb grin that could light up a cave, Liang agrees, already dreaming of their next big earning. After sealing the deal, Liang practically floats, stunned at how he turned a normal stone into a fortune on his first swing. This is proof he's either a genius or the luckiest kid to ever nap through a crisis. That night, after Liang hands his dad a whopping 700,000 yuan, the old man's eyebrows shoot up like they've been zapped. Dad grabs a huge stick, and eyes Liang like he's just confessed to robbing a bank. The latter keeps insisting he sold a jade for the cash, but his dad's not buying it. The old man probably thinks his son's been selling some white powder on the streets and hoists the stick, ready to dish out some old-school discipline. Just in time, Liang's mom swoops in like a superhero, stopping her husband mid-swing. She claims she called the shop and confirmed Liang's story he's no thief, just a kid with a knack for turning rocks into riches. The dad's face softens into a grin, but he tells Liang to keep studying hard, even if he has just found a fortune that could buy a small island. After a while, Liang mentions the parent-teacher meeting next Wednesday, while his mom nudges him to focus on the exams kicking off Monday instead of playing antique jewelry hunter. She suggests she'll handle the meeting on her own, but the dad insists on tagging along. Of course, nothing says family bonding like a school visit, and Liang thanks them, secretly plotting to blow their minds when they see he's back on top. A few days later, the exams wrap up, and the results hit the notice board like a bombshell. Students swarm all over it like bees on a spilled soda, waiting to see where they rank. Rather surprisingly, Liang's name sits at the top with a slick 637. This leaves Zhu in second place at 608, and he is clearly not happy about it. The crowd is stunned, jaws drop at how Liang, the guy they thought was napping through a 3-month fever dream, snagged the top position. Out of nowhere, a chunky dictionary flies through the air and hits a blonde dude square on the face. Liang storms in, calling out the gossip squad for their backstabbing whispers. The blonde, on his knees like a melodramatic kid, yells at Liang for turning his head into a target. The latter scoops up his dictionary, dangles it like a threat, and asks if the guy wants a second dose of therapy. Right then, Director Wu rushes to the spot, threatening Liang to cut the nonsense, his voice booming like your drunk uncle at a barbecue party. The blonde scurries to Wu, whining about Liang's book-throwing antics. Wu then lays into Liang, accusing him of bullying and surprise cheating again, because originality's clearly not his strong suit. Liang, digging a finger in his ear, tells him to bring up a fresh excuse next time. Wu jabs a finger at Liang, warning him not to push his luck, though inside he's boiling like a kettle left on too long, probably dreaming of yeeting Liang out a window. In response, Liang snaps back, fed up with Wu and the whole doubting students pinning crimes on him. He announces he'll retake the monthly exam in front of everyone, faculty, students, the janitor, you name it. A bald kid mutters to his buddy, wondering if Liang's finally shaken off his nap-induced rust and turned back into the legend he used to be. Meanwhile, Liang lays down the condition: if he proves himself, the school's gossip mill shuts down for good. No more whispers, no more side-eye. Wu, smirking like he's already won, agrees and says he'll round up the teachers to whip up a new test, probably hoping to trap Liang with trick questions. At this moment, the system pings Liang with a new quest: ace the test in front of the whole school and make Wu bust out the latest Asian dance moves for all to see, because humiliation is the gift that keeps on giving. Liang tosses the dance condition at Wu, who agrees with the confidence of a guy who thinks he's untouchable, bragging he won't lose this round. Later, Liang sits in a classroom chair, ready to crush the exams again. In fact, he sets up his phone on a stand to livestream the whole showdown. Wu walks in, announcing the test starts now, and asks which subject Liang wants first. Liang, oozing confidence like a champ, declares he'll tackle all 6 subjects at once. Wu, with a smirk greasier than cafeteria fries, hands over the stack of papers, and Liang dives in like a bear smelling rotten food. Soon, an epic showdown straight out of a wizarding movie begins. Wu, crafting devilish questions like Voldemort, squares off against Liang, who's channeling Harry Potter with a pen for a wand and a brain full of spells. Wu fires off his killing curse, aka the nastiest problems he can dream up, aiming to sink Liang into a pit of despair. The curse rips open a hole, and paper people spawn from the questions swarm around Liang. But the youngster is not sweating it. He grips his pen wand and blasts them with a spell that shreds them into confetti, solving every problem like it's child's play. Snapping back to reality, Liang slams his hand on the desk, declaring he's done faster than Wu can say, "You're expelled." Wu's eyes bug out, wondering if Liang just guessed his way through like a kid flipping coins, and starts grading with a scowl. The more he checks, the wider his jaw drops. Every answer's spot on, no scribbled nonsense in sight. When Wu's done, Liang shoves him aside like yesterday's news and tallies the scores for all 6 subjects. The grand total hits 717, higher than his last flex, and seals his win. This leaves Wu as the sore loser with egg on his face and a dance routine in his future. Picking up all the answered question papers, Director Wu declares he'll track down the subject teachers to triple-check them, hoping to find a misplaced comma to cling to. As he's about to run away, the principal swoops in like a hawk on a mission, blocking his exit. The principal mentions hearing about Wu's little bet with Liang and nudges him to man up, admit he lost, and honor the deal. Liang, waving from behind like a kid who's just won a carnival prize, chimes in that Wu's totally a stand-up guy who'd never turn away from a promise. Wu reluctantly confirms he'll stick to his word, though he looks like he'd rather eat his own shoe. Liang pipes up that Wu's dance debut set for the parent-teacher meeting, because why settle for private humiliation when you can go public? The principal, grinning like a proud dad, backs Liang and tells Wu to prepare his stuff for the parents, show off those moves he's been hiding under that irritating face. That Wednesday, the 12th grade parent-teacher meeting fills the great hall with chattering parents. The principal, meanwhile, holds court on stage like a low-budget MC. Liang's parents sit among the crowd, his dad muttering prayers for a passing grade like he's bargaining with the exam gods. The principal starts announcing off the toppers, booming into the mic that Liang has grabbed first position in math. His parents freeze, jaws dropping like they've just heard the lottery numbers called. Dad's eyes even wells up, pride swelling faster than a soggy sponge. The principal keeps rolling, naming Liang the champ in English, physics, chemistry, and biology too, basically handing him every first spot in all subjects. Liang walks onto the stage, collecting his token of appreciation amid the principal's hearty congratulations, looking smug as a cat who has just caught a fat mouse. In the audience, old students who've known Liang forever whisper that the kid's finally back in his prime like he's a vintage car freshly waxed. The principal also recounts to the crowd how Liang swooped in last week at the antique market, saving him from a scam artist's clutches. He hoists Liang's hand like he's crowning a champ and hopes everyone can soak up some of that Liang magic. Following this, Liang grabs the mic, shrugs off the heroics as basic good guy stuff, then drops the bombshell that Director Wu is about to dazzle the parents with a dance. The speakers blast a catchy tune, and the parents perk up, grinning like kids at a clown show. Wu walks out, squeezed into a dance suit so tight he looks like a pig who lost a bet. Students laugh, dubbing him a walking embarrassment. Naturally, Wu's teeth clench, rage simmering like a pot about to boil over. Later, Liang's in the chemistry lab, eyeballing the system and noticing his study coins have doubled. He asks the system what's up, and it replies that he's hit the luck lottery, activating the aura of the study god and raking in belief power from desperate classmates who see him as their nerdy messiah now. The system offers to trade 40 coins for high school biology mastery, and Liang jumps at it. The system pours biology knowledge into him like he's a sponge in a science tsunami, every cell tingling, as if he's leveling up into some brainiac supergod. He dives into every question he can find, and scribbles answers like a man possessed. Shortly afterwards, Teacher Zhang strolls into the lab and finds it a mess of half-month-old exercise sheets. Liang is smack in the center, clutching a paper like it's gold. Zhang peeks at it, gobsmacked to see every answer's a perfect 100%, no smudges, no guesses. Watching Liang blaze through more questions like a human calculator, Zhang's jaw drops so low it nearly hits the floor. Liang, on the other hand, wipes sweat from his brow after a writing marathon, spots Zhang and asks if he needs something. In response, Zhang drops the bombshell that Director Wu had cancelled his exam qualification last week. Zhang slips an arm around Liang like a wise old uncle and promises to drag him to the main school to fix this mess. Right then, the system dings with a new mission. Grab that second exam qualification and pocket 10 study coins. The next day at Wanfengqi High School, biology bigwig Professor Bo, a grand plan committee hotshot, hands out an exam paper from another school, testing who's the fastest nerd in his class. As he scribbles questions on the board, Meng's brain flatlines. Those problems look like alien hieroglyphs. Meanwhile, Zhu, brimming with confidence, pops his hand up and claims he's got a fresh angle to crack it. Professor Bo nods for him to talk, and Zhu launches into his yapping, laying out his new approach like he's unveiling a masterpiece. Wang, resident biology topper, smirks like a smug villain and calls Zhu out, branding his idea garbage and mocking him for spouting nonsense. Zhu snaps that Bo didn't shoot him down, but Wang doubles down, insisting he's wrong because why let facts ruin a good roast? Zhu's temper flares, yelling at Wang like a bullhorn with a grudge. Meanwhile, two kids in the corner gush over Wang's 281-point prelim score. Apparently, he's this school's golden boy. Then Liang strolls in, cool as a cucumber, pointing out that Zhu's idea holds water and could work just fine. Meng lights up like a kid seeing Santa, while Wang jabs a finger at Liang, demanding to know why he's crashing their party. Liang, all boss vibes, introduces himself to the class like he's about to drop the mic and walk offstage. Wang throws down the gauntlet, daring Liang to face him in a speed-solving showdown. But Liang just leans back with a chill vibe, saying there's no need to flex that hard. With a grin that could melt ice, Liang claims he's already cracked the answer like he's got a cheat code stashed in his back pocket. Wang feels insulted and accuses him of bluffing, internally hoping Liang's just hot air. To shut him up, Liang grabs a piece of chalk and attacks the blackboard, solving the problem so fast it's like he's adding 2 plus 2, while the rest of the class is still counting fingers. His hand blurs across the board, practically sparking from the friction move over. Flash, there's a new speed king in town. Meng's eyes light up like a kid at a candy store, totally floored by Liang's swagger and skill. In under a minute, Liang wraps it up and turns to Professor Bao, asking for a critique like he's just plated a high-end restaurant dish. Bo looks at the solution, noting Liang whipped out not one but 2 methods to crack it. Liang yanks out a huge book, making Bo and Wang jump like it's a grenade, and breaks down his approach step by step, cool as a cucumber. Wang's brain short-circuits, totally lost by this wild new angle, while Bo declares both solutions are golden. Turning to Teacher Zhang, Professor Bo asks if this young wizard's his protege. Zhang nods proudly, explaining Liang missed the grand plan sign-up, but's here to reclaim his shot. Liang, curious, asks if Bo knows Professor Zhang, and Bo drops that he was the old man's star pupil back in the day. Liang nudges Bo to sign the eligibility doc, pointing out it's his ticket back into the exam game. Bo agrees without a fuss and grabs the paper from Liang. Meanwhile, Wang's simmering like a curry left over a fire for too long and calls Liang a goofy kid who's all talk. Liang snaps back with his own insults while Wang whines that Liang blew his chance at the second test and can't just waltz back in whenever he feels like it. Liang keeps yelling, arguing that the grand plan's all about raw skill, so anyone with the chops should get a swing. Right then, Yan, the grand plan exam guru, rolls up at the door, siding with Wang and says latecomers don't get to crash the party. Meng whispers to Liang that Wang is Yan's golden boy, so she's got his back. Then, Yan struts in and asks Professor Bo if he's Team Liang. The old man calmly says the kid's request fits the rules fair is fair. Yan smirks, pointing out that restoring a spot needs 2 committee signatures, and she's not scribbling her name on anything. Suddenly, Liang spins to Yan, asking if she'll let her precious Wang square off with him one-on-one. He lays out the deal. If he wins, Yan signs. If Wang wins, Liang puts his tail between his legs and bails. Wang, puffed up like a rooster, brags he'll mop the floor with Liang, and Yan gives him the green light game on. Minutes later, Liang and Wang get into their seats, and Yan dishes out the questions like a stern lunch lady. Zhu throws a jab that Liang's just a schoolyard show-off, itching to see him flop against a real pro. Professor Bo and Teacher Zhang stay cool as ice, betting on Liang like he's their golden goose. Zhang even brags that Liang might outshine him, high praise from the guy who's seen it all. The race kicks off, Zhang swearing Liang's got this in the bag, while Bo notes Wang's grinding hard, scribbling like his life's on the line. In reality, Liang's just chillin' like he's at a spa day. Soon the time's up, and Liang slides his paper to Yan, suggesting she check his while Bo takes Wang's to keep it honest. Yan takes it like a personal jab, snatching the sheet with a disgusted look. Nonetheless, Bo grabs Wang's paper, telling Yan to quit acting like a grumpy cat, and they dive into grading mode. A few minutes later, Bo wraps up and calls out Wang's score, a solid 285. Wang's grinning like he's just won a trophy, but Yan looks like she's swallowed a lemon. She finishes Liang's paper and announces he's hit 286, one measly point higher, but enough to steal the crown. Wang's jaw drops, yelling like he's seen a ghost, totally floored. Yan points out Liang nailed every multiple choice and true-false question flawless as a polished diamond. Turns out, he tanked a basic formula section on purpose, shaving off points like a pro barber. Wang's mind spins, wondering if Liang threw that part just to toy with him. The more he overthinks, the more he unravels, convinced he's no match for Liang's cool-headed chaos. Yan tries to patch up Wang's ego, telling him to bide his time and crush Liang in round 2. With the win locked, Yan and Zhu sign the doc, greenlighting Liang for the second exam. This is when the E-system chimes in, congratulating Liang for clinching the spot, doubling his points, and tossing in 10 extra for kicking Wang's pride in style. Liang's chest puffs up, but the system quickly brings him down. It says he won on swagger, and just on intelligence. In response, Liang demands his ultimate challenge problem, provoking the system to hit him with it. Right then, his phone buzzes, and he takes it out only to see that Mr. Ning's on the line, probably ready to stir the pot some more. Almost immediately, Liang picks up the phone and gets the scoop from Mr. Ning about tomorrow's auction, where his knack for sniffing out treasures is in hot demand. Liang jumps at the chance, figuring since tomorrow's Friday, he can swing by after school wraps up perfect timing for a side hustle. Mr. Ning tosses in that he'll send someone to scoop Liang up right after the bell, because apparently, this kid's on VIP pickup status now. The next day, Liang lounges in class, nose buried in a book, while a group of girls eyeball him like he's the last slice of pizza at a party. He's fully aware of the stares but plays it cool, pretending the book's got him hooked. Gotta keep that aloof genius vibe on lock. Yunan, a chemistry classmate, sidles up and asks if Liang can crack a tricky question for her. She puts her notebook on his desk and leans in so close her cheeks flare up like a stoplight someone's got a crush, and it's not subtle. The other boys in the room catch this cozy little scene and start grinding their teeth, jealousy bubbling like a soda can about to pop. With a thud that echoes like a mini earthquake, Zhang, the bald jock who probably benches more than he brains, slams his fist on Liang's desk, barking that they need to chat and yanking at his jacket. Yunan, fired up like a mama bear, jabs a finger at Zhang and tells him to back off. Zhang wilts under her glare, stammering out an offer to help her instead, like he suddenly discovered a hidden PhD in his gym shorts. Meanwhile, Liang smirks, dripping sarcasm as he asks what Zhang could possibly teach Yunan with his head full of rocks instead of thoughts. Zhang's face twists, and he growls for Liang to watch his trap. Just then, another girl breezes in, scanning for Liang. She introduces herself as Zhu, Mr. Ning's granddaughter because of course, Liang's orbit only attracts the VIPs. Liang waves a hand and Zhu says her granddad sent her to fetch him. Zhang's practically steaming as yet another beauty roams around Liang. Liang and Zhu stroll out together, leaving the corridor buzzing with boys muttering about how Liang's got a monopoly on every pretty face in a 5-mile radius. The system pipes up, teasing Liang's love for the spotlight, but he brushes it off, calling the girls mere pit stops on his road to academic glory. Sure, buddy. Nearby, Zhu catches Liang's mumbling and asks if he heard something weird. The latter quickly covers up his self-talking habit and gives her a half-baked excuse. At the auction house, Mr. Ning's sitting with Fu, a pot-bellied guy who looks like he's one buffet away from a nap. The latter is yapping about the treasures he's dying to flaunt. Fu owns the auction house, but Mr. Ning's got a hunch he's hiding something juicier, though Fu swears he's not. Fu nods to a guy nearby, introducing him as Master Yun, a treasure appraisal hotshot with an ego to match. Yun greets Mr. Ning, oozing confidence like he's got the Midas touch, and Mr. Ning clocks him, asking if he's from the He family because name-dropping's a sport around here. Yun nods, mentioning he once dropped off a gift at the Ning mansion, which jogs Mr. Ning's memory. Mr. Ning grins, praising Yun's skills but dropping that he's roped in another helper for today's treasure hunt. Fu and Yun blink, caught off guard, and Fu presses for the mystery guest's ID. However, Mr. Ning plays it coy, saying this person's no master yet but has got talent. At this exact moment, the door creaks open and Liang struts in, announcing himself like he's late for his own coronation. Mr. Ning points him out as the golden boy he's tapped. On the other hand, Fu sizes Liang up, muttering that he looks like a shiny toy he's not sure how to play with. Nonetheless, Liang flashes a humble smile, claiming he's just a rookie here to soak up wisdom. Mr. Ning asks where his granddaughter is and Liang explains traffic held them up, so she sent him solo. Punctuality's overrated when you're the star. Fu mentally talks about Liang's sloppy vibe, wondering why Mr. Ning's so confident about the kid. In the meantime, Yun scopes the youngster out quietly, sensing this kid's got more up his sleeve than a few cheap magic tricks. Soon, the projector comes to life, and the host kicks off the auction. She unveils the first gem, a vase with historical importance and a 500,000 yuan starting tag, which is too pricey for a glorified flower pot. Liang gives it a look, breaking down its worth, while Fu puffs up, bragging about the hoops he jumped through to snag it. Fu leans into Mr. Ning, pushing the vase as a must-have showpiece. But Liang remains unimpressed and calls for the next item, then the next, dismissing them all like a picky shopper at a flea market. Zhu, hovering behind Mr. Ning, wonders why he's not bidding yet, while Yun offers to toss in his 2 cents. Mr. Ning, cool as a cucumber, insists the real treasures take time to shine, and he's banking on Liang's gut. Soon, an old vase rolls up, and Liang immediately stands up, muttering it's not half bad. Right then, the system pops in, slapping Liang with a mission. Grant a national-level high-grade treasure for $0 before time runs out, because why pay when you can hustle? This task leaves Liang confused. How is he supposed to grab the treasure for 0 money, like asking a fish to climb a tree? The system suddenly goes offline, leaving him hanging without a clue. So, Liang shrugs and decides to lean on his own smarts this time because when you're a study god, you don't need a glitchy sidekick. Zhu pipes up, eyeing the silver vase Liang's fixated on and calling it a good-for-nothing piece. But Mr. Ning waves her off, insisting Liang's got the sharper eye like he's some treasure-hunting hawk. To take things even further, Mr. Ning vows to bid hard for the vase, but Master Yun steps in warning it's not worth the fuss. Although Liang nods at Yun's expertise, he turns to Mr. Ning, swearing they'll kick themselves if they let this one slip like missing the last bus home. Mr. Ning, banking on the kid's sharp eye, basically hands Liang his credit card and tells him to bid however he wants. Master Yun's jaw practically hits the floor, stunned at this blind trust in a teenager. Following this, Liang, with a cheeky grin, pokes Mr. Ning if he's cool with gambling away his fortune. Mr. Ning chuckles, telling him to chill, money's just paper to a guy like him. Pumped by the green light, Liang grabs the bid card and thrusts it up like he's claiming victory already. The auctioneer flashes a grin at his confidence, but points out she hasn't even dropped the starting price. Liang leaps to his feet, like the true drama king, and belts out a bid of 0 RMB. This leaves the room gasping like someone has just run around the stage without clothes on. Whispers start swirling that Liang's either lost his mind or forgotten how auctions work. Mr. Fu comes over, looking like he's swallowed a lemon, and asks if Liang's salty about something to pull such a stunt. Cool as a cucumber, Liang explains the vase isn't fit for auction, and suggests Fu hand it to Mr. Ning to dodge a major mess. Smooth talker's got a plan. Yupin hearing this, the Vips lose it, accusing Liang of spinning tall tales to swipe the prize for himself like he's some crafty thief in a school uniform. Master Yun jumps in, trying to play peacemaker, and says Liang's just a clueless kid who doesn't get auction etiquette. No matter what happens, Liang doesn't flinch, offering to lay out proof the vase is a dud. Fu, sweating bullets as the drama ramps up, caves and lets Liang make his case. Liang struts to the stage, zeroing in on the vase like a detective on a hot lead, ready to spill its secrets. With his intermediate treasure appraisal skill, the youngster runs his hands over the vase, dishing out a rundown of its so-called history like he's narrating a documentary. Master Yun notices Liang's chill vibe and sharp mind and starts to think this kid might actually know his stuff, not just some punk with a guess. Then, out of nowhere, Liang grabs a hammer and smashes the vase to smithereens, sending shards flying and jaws dropping. Fu stares at the wreckage like his dog just ran off, while Master Yun, ever the sharp one, notes a real silver vase wouldn't shatter like cheap glass. Bingo. Liang smirks, revealing the vase was a fake shell hiding the real deal, a dazzling jade cup gleaming in the rubble like finding a diamond in a dumpster. He hoists the cup, declaring it the true treasure and dropping the bombshell that trading it is straight-up heritage smuggling. He spins to Fu, asking if he's ready to face the law for smuggling a national relic. Fu, paling faster than a ghost, ditches any claim to the cup and shoves it at Mr. Ning in an attempt to stay out of jail. He stammers to Mr. Ning that he had no clue about the hidden gem. On the other hand, Mr. Ning, eyebrow cocked like an arched bridge, asks Liang if he sniffed out the jade or just swung blind and got lucky. The youngster faces the crowd and puts on an over-the-top performance about national treasures being beyond price, swearing his only goal is to send it home. The room eats it up, buzzing at the young man's brains and heart. Liang's basically a hero now. Zhu, all flustered and pink-cheeked, gazes at him like he's just ridden in on a white horse. Mr. Ning, grinning like a proud uncle, slaps a jade seal into Liang's hands as a big thank you from the nation. Liang takes it and admires the slick design on the box. He thanks Mr. Ning and internally pats himself for pulling off a legendary W. Stepping out of the auction hall, Master Yun mutters under his breath about Liang's jaw-dropping talent. The kid's barely old enough to shave, yet he's out here schooling the pros. He hops into a taxi and tells the driver to take him to Shihar Road. The driver, decked out in a slick dark suit like he's a villain from a spy flick, turns around and bows down to Yun. The old man asks why the man is behind the wheel instead of being at the He family's mansion. Turns out, the driver's Quang, a member in the He family's shady underground crew. Quang drops that there's some hot mess brewing, and they need Yun's help in it. Yun presses for more information, and Quang eventually spills the tea. The He family head's got a secret love child out there, and the big boss wants the underground squad to track him down. Yun's eyes nearly pop out at the scandal, but Quang adds that the secret kid has got a dragon-shaped birthmark on his back. Quang also begs Yun to zip it, warning that spilling this information could put the secret kid in danger. Meanwhile, Liang's back home, fresh from a shower that's got him feeling like a new man. Suddenly, a weird tingle zaps his dragon-shaped birthmark like it's trying to send him a memo. He throws on some clothes and heads to the dining room, where his parents are waiting for dinner. The tingle's still bugging him, so he asks his mom if the mark's been there since day one. She freezes like a deer in headlights, but his dad jumps in, all chill, saying yeah, it has always been there. He even lies saying the doctor said it's just a quirky skin condition and no biggie. Dad then changes the topic quickly, asking about Liang's exam prep, and Liang, oozing confidence, says he's got it in the bag. Mom gives him props for the bravado, but nudges him to keep the pedal down and aim for that sweet directed mission to Sujian University. Liang flashes a grin, telling them to relax. He's locking in first place without breaking a drop of sweat. After the dinner, Liang holes up in his room, chewing on how his parents act like he's an adopted kid. Zero attachment vibes. He wonders if his real parents ditched him, and he has some betrayal origin story. However, he flips it into a positive thought, dreaming he's some lost heir to a big-shot dynasty, waiting for the grand welcoming. But mid-fantasy, a lightning bolt crashes down like a cosmic slap, zapping him back to reality. Liang, fully aware that this is the system's way of telling him to concentrate, yells at the system for trying to fry him. The system, steaming like a cranky babysitter, rips into him for daydreaming like a fool and tells him to hit the books. Eyes stinging with tears, Liang sulks back to his desk, swearing to ditch the drama and grind. The next week, the grand plan's second round kicks off, and Liang struts into the exam hall like he owns it, confidence dialed to 11. Wang, already on his desk, snaps at Liang for absolutely no reason at all, like he's got a stick up his backside. Liang fires back with a sarcastic jab, asking if Wang's actually here to take the test too. Wang's face hardens, and he vows to crush Liang and shove him back in his lane. In response, Liang smirks, daring him to bring it game face on. Shortly afterwards, the bell dings, the examiner gives the green light, and Liang grabs his pen. Right then, the system slaps him with a mission: wrap this exam in 1 hour and grab first place. Liang fumes at the ridiculousness, but the system says the penalty of failing to achieve the goal is a Latin dance duet with Director Wu. Shuddering at the mental image, Liang buckles down, pouring every ounce of focus into the paper. He bangs his fist on the desk, picturing the questions as prisoners he's questioning, each one spilling its guts under his whip. Time blurs, and after a wild hour, Liang shoots up, chest puffed out. His sudden move creates confusion in the room. Other kids look at him like he's grown a second head. The examiner strolls over, asking if he's sure about turning in early with an hour to spare. Liang flashes a smug grin, feeling like he's already got the crown. His arrogance is proven justified as the system pings that he's halfway done with the mission. He bounces out of the hall, practically skipping, while Wang watches as his cocky determination starts to crumble. Doubt sneaks into Wang's brain like a pesky fly. He begins to question himself, if he's got what it takes to topple Liang after all. A week later, Director Wu corners Liang, once again complaining unnecessarily about why he's not acting like some cookie-cutter high schooler. Liang sidesteps the jab, asking when last week's exam results are dropping like he's got bigger fish to fry than Wu's whining. Zhu, eavesdropping like a nosy neighbor, suddenly wonders why Liang's sweating the scores when he turned in his paper an hour early. Upon hearing this, Director Wu's temper flares, demanding if Liang's early finish was just a cocky stunt to flex on everyone. Liang doesn't bite, instead poking Wu with a grin, asking if he's itching for another dance-off since his last twirl was ages ago. Wu's face twists like he's bitten a lemon, fuming that every time he tries to dunk on Liang, the kid flips it back like a pro wrestler. Right then, the principal rolls up, waving a result sheet like it's a victory flag, checking if the gang's all here. He announces he's got the grand plan scores and starts reading them out like showtime. Zhu's practically bouncing, betting Liang's about to eat dirt this round. Then the principal drops the bomb. Liang has racked up 294 points, grabbing first in all of Shenzhen. Zhu looks like he's been zapped by a taser, while Meng's glowing like a proud sister. Liang is her hero now. Even Director Wu's floored, his jaw hanging as Liang catapults to citywide topper in one slick move. The principal beams, tossing congrats at Liang, but the latter shrugs it off as dumb luck. Liang secretly breathing a sigh of relief, as this means no awkward Latin dance with Wu. Suddenly, the system chimes in, giving Liang a pat on the back for nailing the mission, tossing him some points, nothing doubled this time. It adds that his epic scores landed him direct admission to Sujiang University as a sweet bonus. Then it hits him with a curvy ball, a hidden mission to either take the easy road with direct admission or ditch it for the college entrance exam grind. Liang, squinting suspiciously, asks if both come with strings, and the system replies that nothing's free in this world, kid. It lays it out. Direct admission is a comfortable ride, but kills his shot at big study credits. On the other hand, the exam path is harder, but packed with chances to level up or upgrade the system. Liang's eyes light up at upgrade, and he picks the exam route, thinking why coast when you can conquer. Meanwhile, the principal keeps rolling out results, announcing Meng's bagged the 4th position. Unfortunately, it's not enough for her dreams to get direct admission. Zhu pipes up, asking where he landed, and the principal breaks it to him, 10th place, a total flop. Upon hearing this news, Zhu's world starts crumbling like a stale cookie. Meng's bummed too, having aimed for 3rd and that direct admission golden ticket. Suddenly, Liang turns to the principal, asking if Meng could slide into a top 3 spot if someone bails. Without missing a beat, Liang says he's ditching his first place prize. Room goes pin drop silence, everyone wondering if he's for real or just trolling. Meng's all gratitude but begs him not to toss this golden chance away. But no matter what others say, Liang stands firm. He wants to forsake his direct admission. He flashes a grin, explaining he's craving the full high school vibe with the college entrance exam, living his best life, one test at a time. Meng's blown away by his sheer audacity, practically hero-worshipping his gutsy move. The principal nods, backing Liang's decision and promising to help him all the way. Next day, Liang's swarmed by a pack of girls, all begging for tutoring like he's some academic rock star. Flattering at first. Now it's a headache that is hindering his study groove. A beautiful girl named Yunan leans in, gushing about his grand plan win, but he brushes it off as luck like modesty's his new flex. Zhang suddenly chimes in, labeling Liang as a nerd who just grinds books all day like that's an insult. In response, Liang asks if Zhang's getting tired from always losing. Zhang fires back with a sports meet challenge, bragging he's locked in for the 1000m, 800m, 400m, and 200m. Initially, Liang checks if he's serious, and Zhang doubles down, chest puffed like he's already got gold. However, Yunan jumps in, pointing out Zhang's a sports stud, so it's hardly fair for him to go against a nerd. Liang rises, locking eyes with Zhang, and says he's in for all the races. Bring it, meathead. Liang vows to go toe-to-toe and finish all challenges once and for all. Zhang clenches his fists, matching the fire, and their showdown's official. Nearby, the girls swap nervous looks, worrying for Liang's sanity. Suddenly, the system dings with a new mission: boost Liang's pathetic athletic game. The youngster accepts the challenge as he wants the extra study coins that come with it. Zhu, living for the payback, grins ear to ear, betting Zhang's about to turn Liang into track dust. The scene abruptly changes to a random street where Liang drops to a crouch, one knee kissing the pavement. His fingers are on the ground like he's about to launch into orbit. With a grunt and a mighty shove, he blasts off, arms pumping as he tears down the road, thinking that he's got this in the bag, pure confidence fueling his sprint. He digs deep, as if to impress the imaginary crowd in his head. But mid-stride, his foot betrays him, buckling like a cheap folding chair. While nursing his traitor foot, Liang mutters that he's surely toast now. Suddenly, out of the blue, a knife slices through the air, aimed straight for him. Liang, with the reflexes of a cat, jerks his head aside, dodging the blade like he's got a sixth sense for trouble. He quickly scrambles up and spots a shadowy, creepy figure looming on a nearby rooftop. On the other hand, the masked guy up top gives a slow nod, impressed. He mutters that Liang's reflexes scream that he is from the He family. Liang waves it off, insisting to the assassin guy that he's got the wrong dude like he's just some random kid, not a ninja heir. The masked man doesn't buy it and vaults off the roof and charges at Liang with full speed. Coward Liang yelps for the system to help him out as the knife plunges toward him. Then, like a scene from a kung fu flick, a hand pops out of nowhere, snagging the blade between two fingers. Liang and the wannabe assassin are dumbfounded, and the latter turns around to see who his savior is. It is none other than Quang, the bald badass from earlier, who just strolled in and stopped the knife like it's no big deal. Quang sizes up the scene and pegs the attacker with Wu Tai martial arts. With a flick of his wrist, Quang unleashes a punch that sends the assassin flying, smashing into a wall like a ragdoll. Meanwhile, Liang, still reeling from the attack, demands to know who Quang is and why he's playing hero. The latter smirks, eyes locked on the assassin as the guy bolts like a scared rabbit. He then tells Liang to chill, calling him young master. Liang's brain screeches to a halt and he asks for an explanation. In response, Quang rattles off Liang's life story, dropping bombs like the dragon birthmark on his shoulder. He even drops a huge secret: his current parents aren't his real ones. Instead, his biological parents are from the He family, Shenzhen's top-tier power players. Following this, Quang kneels, saying he's Liang's assigned guardian and offers to whisk him back to his real family. Liang shuts it down hard, saying his only family's the one waiting at home, and starts walking off. Quang calls after him, warning that he can't outrun his fate or the hitman, and spills that the assassins from rival clans are gunning to erase Liang. He lays out the city's power struggle. Sun, Ning, and He families are duking it out since Liang's dad left the family without any heir. The enemies are itching to eliminate Liang to wipe out any heir to the He family throne. As if to make matters worse, Quang adds that even Liang's adoptive parents are in danger. After a while, Liang asks about Wu Tai martial arts, and Quang explains it's a secret family trick to push limits. The power's tempting, but Liang's loyal to the core, refusing to ditch the parents who raised him. He then tells Quang to stay put and keeps walking, warning Quang not to follow him. Later that night, Liang sits cross-legged in his room, attempting to concentrate but fails miserably. Frustrated, he lets out a loud shout as he is unable to keep his focus despite his efforts. Consequently, Liang collapses onto his bed and pleads with the system for cultivation secrets to strengthen his meditation realm. The system coldly points out that Liang basically has the body of a twig and cultivation would be impossible. On top of this, Liang sees that his 45 learning coins are dwindling fast. The youngster laments that the system is scamming him, and he's essentially starting from scratch again. Using the coins, he upgrades his physical fitness in preparation for the upcoming sports festival. Immediately, Liang feels a surge of energy coursing through him, prompting a rather over-enthusiastic yell. His parents hear him grunt from his room and exchange puzzled glances. His mother tries to speculate that Liang must be playing some game inside and not with himself. Next morning, Liang is slumped at his desk in class, whining that the system didn't warn him about the upgrade's aftermath. His body's screaming like he ran a marathon in flip-flops. Miss Zhao smacks her desk, snapping everyone's attention, and says class is done. She then introduces a new transfer kid to the class. Suddenly, the door flies open with a bang, and a bandana-wearing dude struts in, oozing swagger, announcing himself as Wu. Zhu sizes him up quickly and realizes that the new kid is a walking red flag. Wu asks Miss Zhao if he can pick his seat, and she gives him the permission. The new kid scans the room like a hawk while every kid is holding their breath as the tension cranks up. After a minute, Wu jabs a finger at Liang, who's half asleep at his desk, and claims that spot. Meanwhile, the half-asleep Liang remains totally oblivious to the drama unfolding around him. He soon snaps to his senses and immediately locks eyes with Wu. A blonde girl remarks that Wu is really arrogant for demanding Liang's seat moments after arriving. Wu struts in like he owns the place, probably thinking he is the main character in some low-budget martial arts drama. Newsflash, buddy, the script says otherwise. Meanwhile, Zhu finds Wu intimidating, wondering if he was a bully at his previous school. The coward, however, secretly hopes he'll put Liang in his place. Nearby, Wu stands firmly, staring down at Liang, who is still seated. The latter is confused as to why the newcomer is glaring at him like that. Suddenly, Wu breaks into a smile, leans closer, and addresses Liang as Master. Hearing this, Zhu is so shocked he accidentally snaps his pencil in half. Zhu's pencil wasn't the only casualty his brain short-circuited too, trying to keep up with this soap opera twist. Following this, Liang softly whispers and asks Wu if he is also from the He family, and the latter confirms he is. Wu elaborates that he is a member of the He family's secret organization. Irritated by this revelation, Liang tells the newcomer that he can sit anywhere he likes as long as he doesn't cause trouble. With a serious tone, Wu insists a student on the next desk give up his seat, and the latter reluctantly agrees. After an hour, the bell rings to signal the end of class, and a group of girls quickly approaches Liang with a barrage of questions. Liang begins sweating nervously, realizing he has to deal with these attention-seeking girls yet again. Suddenly, Wu dashes past the girls at blinding speed, creating a shock wave that scatters their papers across the room. The girls gasp in disbelief, realizing their pens and test papers have vanished from their hands in an instant. Wu, who is casually sitting by the window and holding their stolen items, declares that no one will harm his master. Watching these antics unfold, Liang silently thinks Wu is being utterly childish. The girls also confront the newcomer in anger, demanding to know who he thinks he is. But the latter dismisses them as irrelevant pests standing between him and his master. Liang, seeing Wu's attitude, starts thinking this might work out since no one will bother him anymore. But the drama refuses to subside as Zhang angrily accuses Liang of allowing Wu to disrespect their classmates. Even the girls, looking displeased, declare they will no longer ask for Liang's help. Out of nowhere, an irritated Wu throws a book straight at Zhang's face. He warns Zhang not to speak nonsense about Liang. The latter stubbornly calls Liang fake, prompting Wu to roll up another book and charge forward. To everyone's utter shock, Wu lands a brutal blow to Zhang's stomach, making him double over in pain. He follows it up and delivers a powerful uppercut that leaves Zhang bleeding from his mouth. Raising his hand once more, Wu swings with enough force to lift Zhang off his feet and send him crashing down. Wu's fighting style is a wild mashup of kung fu and pure anarchy, like a martial arts flick where the stunt guy skipped rehearsal and just winged it. Liang, who has been watching all this, is impressed by Wu's cultivation level. Smirking like he's just won the lottery, Wu throws Liang a salute and brags that his mission is in the bag. Liang gives him a nod and praises his hustle like a proud big bro. Then, he gives Wu a proposal: train him to be stronger and faster. Later that day, out on the school grounds, Wu plays drill sergeant, hovering over Liang's push-ups. Liang is counting his reps and dripping sweat when suddenly Wu pulls a dog out of thin air. The glorified bodyguard tells it to go full hellhound mode on Liang like some twisted game of fetch. Almost immediately, the beast barrels at him and Liang hauls his backside like he's auditioning for the track team. After days of this wild training, Wu checks if Liang's feeling any tougher. The latter is a sweaty mess, panting heavily but manages to whisper out a shaky thanks. Wu kneels down and waves off the gesture from his master. He reveals that Liang's on the fast track to Wu Tai Kai's first stage, muscles getting swole and energy popping. A curious Liang asks about the different stages and Wu dishes it. A level 6 Wu Tai could outrun Usain Bolt and trash 20 normies without breaking a sweat. Wu brags that with his headband off, he'd carve through foes like a sushi chef on a roll. Nonetheless, the bodyguard bows low and swears to stick to Liang's shadow like a loyal sidekick. Liang nonetheless tells him to look at the bigger picture and be his own star. Upon hearing this, Wu's eyes get misty and he doubles down, vowing to whip Liang into shape to stomp Zhang at the sports fest. A few days later, sports day finally arrives, and the 1000M lineup's buzzing. Liang and Zhang are at the starting line, sizing each other up like it's a showdown at the Olympics. Zhang's grinning like a smug jerk, telling Liang to brace for a faceplant. Liang smirks right back, promising he's not here to mess around and go 100%. If Liang goes all out, will Zhang finally eat his words, or is our boy about to take the most embarrassing L of his life? If you want to see how this showdown unfolds in part 2, type Liang's turbo mode in the comments. Don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more epic recaps. As always, thanks for watching.